This lit yoga reset class is going to be dedicated to quadruped. So we find ourselves in this all fours, you could almost call it like the crawling position here for a decent portion of the class. And what we'll be focusing on is how we can tap into our core through the whole complex from the top to the bottom to hold this position so that we can move in that position and then also use it as transition, as we'll see towards the end of this little movement session. Get started on your back. You're going to come on down. You'll get the back of the hips on the ground, the sacrum, the shoulders, back of your skull. Then from here, press right into the feet, lift the back of the sacrum off the ground, root your tailbone to your heels. You're going to feel a little bit of hip extension here. Not so important how high up we are. So you could be really, really low, but then start to press into the feet, lift and lower. You're extending the hips, allowing them to flex as you bring the pelvis a little bit closer to the floor and then pressing back of the feet, re-extending. Feel any pressure in the knees, wiggle your feet out a little bit further. Feel that pressure in the low back, stay low and keep rooting your tailbone. You can take the hands up to the ceiling, spread those fingers. We'll bring our left hand across the forefingers of the right hand. We're just going to stretch out the right wrist here as we continue to just pulse into the hips. Don't be afraid, give yourself a nice good pull back on those right fingers, really get some wrist extension here, preparing our wrists to be able to load some weight. Even in quadruped, we're weight bearing through the wrists here. So we just want to prepare them, get them into the position that they'll be in when we're in all fours. You can release the right wrist, circle it a couple of times in both directions. Then take it to the other hand. Left hand is up to the ceiling. You can hold your little pulses. So we're just holding this like almost ramp-like position, ramping up the energy in our body and assuming the shape of a ramp. Pull the fingers back towards the face, shine the palm up to the ceiling, get that little wrist extension. Big breath all the way into that left wrist. Really let it open up. Exhale and side out. Rooting the tailbone, really great. We'll release our left wrist, circle that a couple of times, both directions now. Really good. Then you'll bring your left arm down by your side, your right arm down by your side, lower yourself all the way down, but slowly from the upper to middle, and then lower back. Tapping into the abdominals, because we're going to want them activated for even holding a quadruped. Bring the hands behind the head by interlace the fingers, pull your elbows in. Big inhale here. Exhale and lift. So gather everything together. Shoulder blades come up off the ground. One of the challenges here is to try and get our neck to relax into the hands, but still pull into the core and keep the shoulder blades up. Inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. So everything gathers together. Shoulder blades come up as we pull into the core. Feel that gathering of energy. And then inhale and lower. Now adding on one more thing here. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. Take your right hand and reach it up towards the ceiling, kind of like we did when we were stretching it. So you'll pull your fingers back to your face and shine that palm forward. Really reach from that right shoulder blade. We're just accessing the upper core, the scapula. Right hand comes back behind the head. Inhale and lower. Exhale and lift. And we'll be able to lift up a little bit higher as our left hand, the other hand comes up towards the ceiling. Spread the fingers, pull them back towards your face, but then really push with that left palm up to the ceiling and see if you can come up maybe a little bit higher on that left shoulder. Left hand comes back, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift, everything gathers together, shoulder blades come up, right hand up, pull back with the right fingers, really press that right palm up, see if you can lift up a little bit higher, gather more into the core. Right hand back, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift, everything gathers together. Shoulder blades come up, left hand comes up towards the ceiling, pull your fingers back towards your face, really spread that left shoulder blade. Left hand comes back, inhale and lower. One more on each side. Exhale and lift. So we're going to gather everything together. Take that right hand from behind the skull, face that right palm up to the ceiling, but then pull those fingers back to your face. Keep pushing with the right palm. Really slide that right shoulder blade. You should feel a lot of gathering into the core. Relax the neck into the left hand. Hold, but hold here. And right hand comes back. Inhale and lower. One more. Exhale and lift. Gather together. Left arm reaches up. Palm faces forward. Fingers pull back. Really pull and lift from that shoulder blade. So you want to pull that away from the center of the spine. Keep the neck relaxed. Don't mind wanting to work for me here. Left hand comes back. Inhale and lower. Oh, let's go ahead and just wiggle our feet wide for a moment and drop them from side to side, almost like they were windshield wipers on a car. Just getting a little hip rotation here. Keep rooting the tailbone towards the heels. You can even goalpost the arms here. Give yourself a little extra chest opener. 2 more breaths. Breathing the tailbone, feel that length in the low back. Try to fill up in the ribs. And then when you breathe it out, you'll feel this little release around there. Bring ourselves back through center. And then before we get into our quadruped on our hands and knees, we'll take it in our supine on our back position. So now bring the knees over the hips, and already that might feel like a lot has happened with your core needing to activate to maintain that position. Good. Hold the core in here. We just did all that warming up. We don't want to let it go. We're keeping the low ribs in. We have the natural curve of the low back, natural curve of the neck. So we take our hands up to the ceiling. You'll keep your palms facing up, but then I'll have you just plug your shoulders down and into the mat behind you. So it's almost like your arms are trying to plug down into the floor. So give you a nice sense of connecting to your scapula and your back ribs. Start off, we're going to tap our left foot down and reach our right arm overhead. And then bring your right arm back over the right shoulder, left knee over the left hip, right foot taps down, left arm reaches overhead. Then we'll bring them both up to where they started. Go back to the right arm, the left leg, little tap at the left foot, little reach over at the right arm, bring them back to where they start. Left arm reaches over, right foot taps down. So notice we're like crawling on the ceiling here. Continue to alternate opposite arm with opposite leg, and just feel this connection into the core. So we're working on moving the limbs, moving at the hips, moving at the shoulders, getting this extension in the spine, but not losing our core. And then when we bring this around in just a moment, we're going to be able to feel that, and hopefully it'll feel even a little bit different than how you might normally be taking it, just to have this awareness, have this training, this setup in the body. So let's go ahead, bring the knees in towards the torso, finish that walking on the ceiling down, crawling on the ceiling, bring ourselves around onto one side, make your way up to quadruped facing the floor now. So now we'll come around, hands will be under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. In your quadruped, your knees could honestly be all the way up right behind your wrist. You really almost can't have them too close. So make sure that feels comfortable for you. Let's set up our quad here. So first, I want you to check in with the neck. What's going on there? A lot of times I find my head is drooping. So what I like to do is to just start off lifting my gaze forward. I even lift my chin, then pulling the chin in towards the chest. So keep reaching through the top of the head, like you're drawing your throat into the back of your neck. You'll feel nice and long there. Then push down into the hands and push your palms a little bit away from each other. So it's as if they were trying to spread out towards these outer edges of the mat, but they won't actually move. And then try to pull them back to the knees. And again, don't actually let them move back there. So now you should, with a press down into the hands, be feeling some good energy running from the palm up into the forearm, through that elbow, up to the tricep and onto our scapula here, supporting us, keeping those scapula on the back ribs. And check in with the lower ribs themselves. If they're falling to the floor, you might be arching in the back and lifting the tailbone. So like you're lifting the belly button into the low back, you want to pull that front line of energy into that back line of energy, and you'll start to feel that tailbone being directed a little bit more towards the back of the mat. So we don't have that floor below us anymore on our back, but we still feel the spine aligned with that good balance of the hips, the shoulders, the skull, all in line with each other here. One more breath here, then we're going to start to move a little bit. So push into your hands and spread your shoulder blades. Point your tailbone to the ground, and maybe even release your neck a little bit. Feeling a little shoulder blade protraction here in our quadruped. Bring yourself back to that starting position. So feel the shoulder blades land back on the back ribs. Feel the front line of the body pulling to the back line of the body. Throat draws into the back of the neck. 2 more times like that. Push in your hands, spread your shoulder blades, root your tailbone. Really feel that spreading of that back tissue, shoulder blades opening up the back of the heart. Bring your chest back down in line with the shoulders. Again, feel the front line pulling into the back line. The spine is long. One more time, push in the hands, spread your shoulder blades. It's like a Halloween cat position. Get that nice big doming of the back, this big opening from the tailbone all the way up to the neck. Now we'll bring our shoulders back in line with the hips. Quadruped. From here, we'll tuck our toes, slide the right foot back. And now you can drop your gaze for a moment to look back at the right toes, spread the right toes, and start to press into them. So here again, still maintaining the strong core. Once you really get that toe pressing, that extension of the ankle and flexion of the ankle feels like it's pretty clear for you, you can bring your neck back in line with the shoulders. So we're still pressing down to the hands. We're still not letting the ribs collapse to the ground. We're lifting that core up. We're pressing into that big toe mound, pressing into that right glute. If the right glute feels sleepy, you could pause, give it a little pat and tap, and then keep pressing. So we're just getting a nice big opening for the whole back line of the body, from that heel up through the hamstrings, down to our calf, and all the way up to the glute. Probably feeling it there. And then we'll go ahead, bring the right knee down next to the left. We'll start off the same way. We'll extend that left leg back, spread the toes here. You can look back at the left toes. So as you start to press into that left big toe mound, you really are clear about how it's moving, using the gaze to assist us. And then once that movement feels like it's happening for you, you can just bring your chin back in towards the chest, reach to the top of the head, and get that skull back in line with the shoulders. Again, you can always pause and give a little poke or tap. Sometimes one glute is a little sleepier than the other, so you got to check in with it, make sure it's working for you. We want that left glute working here. We want to feel this stretch happening from the heel all the way through the bottom of the foot, up and through the glute here by holding that steady. And then we'll get the calves and the hamstrings, this wonderful opening, this activation by activating all that, pressing into the toe, squeezing the left glute. 3, 2, and 1. Left knee comes down. Now, one time here, we'll thread the needle. So I'm going to have you keep your left hand down. Right arm just comes out to the side. Then bring your right arm underneath your left arm. You're sweeping it through, coming down onto the right shoulder. You can keep your left hand by the in front of your face here, or you could walk your fingers forward and extend the left arm overhead. Big breath here. Feel free to stay here. Our last option to add on is to tuck the left toes and then to slide them back, like we just did in our little hip extension. So what that can do is just add this stretch a little into the side hip. You might even start to feel it in that great area of the low back, just below and behind the ribs there, quadratus lumborum. Maybe one more breath, wherever you are. So if your left leg is still extended, bring your left knee back down next to your right knee. Your left hand comes next to the face. You'll push back into the left palm, and you can just bring your right hand back down onto the floor next to, underneath the right shoulder, next to the left hand here. We'll take the left arm out to the side, and then we'll sweep it under. So you got to bend that right elbow as you sweep it under, come down onto the left side of the skull. Your right hand can stay here, supporting your neck. You can also walk your right hand forward and come up onto the fingertips, getting a really nice elongation through the torso and ribs. Third and final option is to add on a tuck of the right toes and an extension back of that right heel. So now I'm adding just a little extra twist through the rib cage, a little extension of the hips, going to help me breathe some space into the glute medius and some side musculature around the pelvis. One more breath here. And so if you took all those steps, first you'll want to bring the knee in, then you'll want to bring the hand back, then press into the right hand, and just bring your left hand back underneath that left shoulder. Sit back here for a moment. And again, we'll circle the wrists a few times. So both directions, just giving them a little reprieve here. We've been doing some extra good work on top of them. And then before we keep moving with them, this is just an option. Obviously, if it doesn't feel good, feel free to skip it. I'll change my orientation to come towards you, but I'm still in quadruped. You're going to come onto the tops of your hands and face your fingers in towards each other. Now, very much on purpose, bend your elbows, pull your hands apart from each other. Hopefully you got a nice sticky mat like I have here. My hands aren't really going to move much. There's so much good traction going on between the tops of my hands and the mat here. Then again, we can release our neck. So you're looking back at the legs, and you can dome your back, spreading the shoulder blades. Again, try to maybe keep a little bend in those elbows and still keep trying to pull the hands away from each other. 2 more breaths like this. You can really try to pull those hands apart and get a nice stretch into the back of those wrists. And we'll bring those hands back onto the palms. Again, sit back. This time, let's shake out the wrists a little bit. It can be a big stretch. You can even do like a little bit of a flexion extension, shake out, woo, dinosaur arms. So, okay, bring your hands back down. And now we're back in our quadruped. we're gonna put this all together. So check it out. We're gonna get into our quadruped by, again, feeling the throat drawn to the back of the neck. We get that skull in line with the shoulders. Push into the hands, feel the scapula on the back ribs. If you need a little help finding that, you can push in the hands, dome the back, and then pull the shoulders back down onto the ribs, almost like you're trying to push your hands away from each other. Exhale, feel the front line of the body drawn to the back line of the body. Helps that spine elongate there, but we're still honoring those natural curves. Then we're gonna start to crawl in our quadruped. So you'll move your right hand and your left knee forward together, then your left hand and your right knee forward together. Right hand, left knee, and then left hand, right knee. Now you might start to run out of space like I'm here at my wall. So I'll move back with the right leg, left hand, left leg, right hand, right leg, left hand, right hand, left leg. And then as you move back and forth a few times, you can either just, again, kind of stay the length of your mat or explore a little bit off of your mat if you want to make this crawling back and forth a little bit longer. We're still keeping all the same things in mind. Core is drawing in, front line of the body to the back line of the body, shoulder blades staying on the back ribs, neck staying in line with the shoulders. Of course, if we need to look down and help that coordination, that's okay too. The eyes can really be good coaches to help us get this coordination from the left to the right. And just a few more times back and forth. You're probably already feeling some engagement around the shoulders, some good heat there. That's a great thing. We're also getting great cross-neural firing. So just good brain training, right? To move the left and the right side with one another in tandem, getting two different sides of the body, doing two different things, but coordinating to complete one action. Let's all meet in the middle of the mat in our quadruped, whether you're going back or forth to get there. And then from here, we'll set up our downward facing dog. So we're gonna see how we can use this quad now that we've warmed it up. We've moved it side to side, done some different things in it to get ourselves into some different positions, and how holding a good quad really does translate to setting up a lot of our yoga poses really, really well and safely and with strength and stability. So you can tuck your toes in your quadruped here. Start it off, you can actually push into your hands, spread your shoulder blades, release your neck, then keep pushing into your hands, hover your knees. Now hoist your pelvis up towards the ceiling, but you can keep your knees bent. So the deep knee bend can actually help you get a little deeper into the hip flexors and maybe feel longer in the spine. In this down dog, take a big breath here. Fill up your back like it's a big balloon. On the exhale, pushing your hands and your feet equally. So you want to feel like you're being held equally between all four of those limbs. Again, the low belly still pulling up into the back. So it's like the front line is sandwiching up and into the back line. One more breath here. And with the exhale, we'll step our left foot forward, lower the right knee down. So again, we're sort of in this quadruped, just a left foot forward. We can rise up to our warrior two, or sorry, low lunge. Bring the hands down, step your left foot back, step your right foot forward. You can see we can come from warrior two. And again, that down dog is really just a progression of that quad with the hips up a little bit higher. So you land that left heel, keep the right knee bent. You could lower your left hand down, bring it into a twisted crescent as you twist into that right side. And again, then right hand could come down. You can lower left knee, right knee slides back in quadruped, come back to down dog, maybe protract the shoulder blades, root the tailbone, hoist the pelvis up. From here, you could walk in your down dog. That's just another progression of that crawling we were doing earlier. Left hand moving with right hand, left leg moving with right hand, right leg moving with left hand, opposite limbs moving together to crossfire and coordinate. You could slow that walking down. If you took that walking down dog, you could walk the hands back, bring it into a forward fold, maybe keep the knees bent, keep a little lift of that front line into the back line, big breath. We can use our quadruped to walk it out. From that set up quadruped and down dog, it can be a little easier to bend and coil and straighten and try our little hops. You know, I'm almost like in a quadruped here, just with my arms extended overhead. So there's so many options that open up when we come into that quad. Let's just cool it down real quick here with a few cat-cows. So from your neutral, pull the chest forward. You can lift the tailbone a little bit, broaden the collarbone. Push into the hands, root your tailbone, spread your shoulder blades. A little exhale helps. Maybe two more times like that. Pulling it forward, opening it up, pushing and spread the shoulder blades, root that tailbone. Using that strong quad to pull the chest forward, open it up, broaden the front, pushing the hands, spread your shoulder blades and root the tailbone. Anything else that feels good, you can shake it out, shimmy it out. But I hope that that helps you feel a little bit more stable in your quad and gives you a few ideas for how practicing that quadruped while a very foundational yoga pose really can help us to get to some of the most advanced places in our practice that we would like to get to, because who doesn't want to experience freedom and joy in their movement practice? So I hope this helps to bring that to you. So light me honors the light that shines in each and every one of you, and I bow to that light, which truly does tie us all together.